one of the things that you guys do is what you call AI middleware, which is effectively AI guided or AI orchestrated management of infrastructure. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it is helping some of your clients and how do they leverage it, get value from it?
Right. So the idea of AI middleware is basically to build a governance layer which controls the infrastructure in an autonomous way. Right. So the challenge that most of these agentic frameworks and the new age GPT-based systems have is there's no control over how the customer is using it, how the scalability happens. It's fairly open to like production interpretation and all, right? So, and as I said, so from an enterprise perspective, the biggest challenge they have is security, governance, data privacy controls, and things like that, right? So what we have done is we have built a product which we call a autonomous AI middleware. It lets completely controls how the applications get deployed, how the agents get deployed, when do they wake up, when do they sleep, so on and so forth. And at the same time, manage the resources which are needed for these agents to perform their job, right? There's a big cost angle to it because you don't want your systems to be available all the time or your agents to be available on the time. That's where AI middleware comes in and kind of controls the entire life cycle of agentic journey and ensures that they have the resources required for when do they need it. So, and we have seen almost 70% cost savings in terms of infrastructure spends because you're using a lot of GPU, which is kind of getting wasted when there is no customer or no load as such, but you still have to keep them alive. So that's the layer we kind of solving with this product. And we have seen that working well for larger companies because they come to solving this problem later in the stage. So they start experimenting, have a solution built, and then they realize they have a big problem to solve because whatever you have built is not going to scale for 100 million users, for instance, right? So versus our approach is different. So we start with the middleware approach and then we build on top of it. So you're always aware of how things will scale and where the cost will be. And so then it's a much clearer business value proposition in that sense.
I think the cost element is becoming more front and center in some of the conversations I'm having with people. Yes, AI adoption is priority, but they're also becoming increasingly aware of how expensive it is to run AI models. And that's where I think, this almost becomes like a no-brainer, right? Yes. Leveraging a smart way. You are going to have that infrastructure need. How can you be smarter about saving costs and deploying it and orchestrating it when required and going higher or lower depending on when your load is higher or when your users are hitting your app, or etc. Right?
Yeah. So it's actually widespread, right? So one is obviously your GPT cost, and other is, so I was reading an article, somebody was mentioning they bought Cursor's license for their team, and generally for the pro version they give like 500 credits and things like that. And one of the developer used it in a day.
Yeah.
So it's like a yearly license that they bought and somebody just finished it in a day.
Right.
So that's becoming a very common problem for a lot of companies that we're talking to, right? A lot of people or a lot of developers who are adopting AI, but then there is no control over who is using it how, and is it actually required for the job somebody is doing, versus some sense of governance and control that companies can have over how AI is adopted within their organization. And that's where a product like middleware comes in, because that gives those controls to the CIOs and the CTOs in terms of having a view over what's actually happening across the organization, how the AI is utilized and kind of fairly adopted across the organization. And then controls over cost, control over usage policies, fair usage policies, and things like that. So that's a big aspect of what we're trying to solve.
But this is not just for AI projects. It can be leveraged with any amount of any kind of infrastructure that's being used today. So if a company is looking to jump into AI, this might be a good entry into that world, because you're also simplifying the ease of adoption, deploying models, managing the whole thing, right? So it's not just a okay, I got to start thinking about infrastructure and costs once I have built up and scaled up my AI practice within my company. It's I need this to even build and scale the AI practice within my company. Is that accurate?
Definitely, yes, yeah. So, and a lot of AI initiatives fail, right? And I mean, there's a lot of study that has Deloitte has done, and a lot of Big Fours have done, where there's a quote saying 90% of AI initiatives fail. One of the biggest reason was that people realize the cost when they actually hit that scale.
Right.
They don't understand it when they start building it, right?
Right.
So it's imperative that they start looking at it at the start of planning aspect of it, right? Like how it will scale for your millions of users out there. What kind of infrastructure spend will be required? What kind of GPT usage will be required? So those, the more earlier you do those analysis, it's better in terms of value proposition that you're going to get. And that's where looking at a product like middleware helps, because it gives you a sense of what it requires to actually scale in production, not just build a prototype for a local usage.